So you're freaking out. You just lost some data. Don't freak out. I'll give you 4 methods to possibly recover your data. And at the end, we'll discuss how to somewhat prevent this from happening and give yourself some extra ability to get the data in different methods. First thing we can do is we'll pretend here that we go ahead and deleted this data out of a folder called test from the desktop. The first thing that people forget is they can press Control-Z, just like if you're working on a Word document and you wanted to undo what you just typed or undo what you just did, just type on your keyboard Control-Z and boom, everything comes right back. So you are now in good shape, everything came back. Another thing that you can do if you had deleted the data would be to go to the recycle bin. The recycle bin would come in handy if, let's say, you keep working on something else only to realize that you had already just deleted the data. So go into the recycle bin, you can find what you need, or just restore it all, and click restore all items. Are you sure? Yes. And you're good to go. So that's the second option. Third option is a third-party tool like Rakuva, Wondershare Recover It, or Disk Drill. I'm showing them here because I've had mixed results from them. They're relatively good. You would pretty much either download and install them and then just scan your whole drive or scan a location on the drive. And some of them do require that you purchase the Pro Edition from them to recover the data. But if you try the free version of them and then you somehow suddenly see files appear, you'll know that maybe it's worth purchasing if you do see them. It's very time consuming and it takes quite a while, and a lot of the times they might have to scan the whole drive just to find something, even if you knew where it originally was. Now this last option, the fourth option, is called previous versions or shadowcopy. Now the cool thing is that if you have the files on your machine for long enough to be available during the last snapshot, what happens is the system already knows that that data is there. So for example, not only do we delete the files here, but we can go ahead and right click on the recycle bin and hit empty, and they disappear and they're gone. And technically you cannot do Control-Z, you cannot go into the recycle bin and restore them. But because shadowcopy is enabled and set up to do quote-unquote like snaps of the system, we can right-click the directory that we're in, we can click on show more options, we can click properties, and then in here we'll click on previous versions, and then we have a snapshot from like a few minutes ago. We can hit open, take a look at it, and there's all the data. We can then grab it all and drag it right in here, and you're good to go. Now a lot of companies actually utilize shadowcopy, which is the server version of this, on their servers. So let's say you're working on a document on your server, there's a good chance that your IT department or IT company can actually restore using shadowcopy. Technically, you also can just do exactly what I did. If the server has it on a server directory, you can right click, click on properties, previous versions, and then pick the timestamp. Usually there's maybe a couple days worth because this isn't the primary backup system, but it's just an available option. And let me show you how to actually configure that so that you can get more snapshots or more space for the snapshots. The first thing we want to do is click on Start. And we're going to type in System Protection. And create a restore point is the one that pops up. That's what we want to go to. And then in here, it automatically took us to System Properties, System Protection. You're going to select your C drive and hit Configure, and then make sure Turn On is there. And then the good thing here is you can decide how much space you want to use. In this case, we're using 5% of the drive. The more you use, the more storage is going to be available to the system for it to get those backup copies of the data. And one thing to note is that once that storage gets filled up, and let's say you do a lot of work and you're constantly deleting and adding files and working on files, then the older restore points are going to be removed. So be aware of that. At this point, we're going to hit OK, and you actually then have the option here to create a restore point right now. So if you really do, you're going to do some big project, you can just click create a restore point, and it's just going to help you have that restore point of your system for that time period. The next thing we can do is schedule this so that it happens more often or more regularly. So we're going to click on start, and then we're going to type in task scheduler. And when this pops up, we're going to maximize it here. We're going to go to expand this little arrow. Okay, at this point we're going to go ahead and go to task schedule library. Then we're going to right click and we're going to hit new folder, and we're going to say something like created tasks that we made, and we're going to click on there. So we're going to right click in here and we're going to click on create task. In here we're going to say create a previous version, and then we're going to click on run whether the user is logged in or not. Then we're going to go to run with the highest privileges here, and after that we're going to then clear a button called do not store password. So that should be unchecked, so we're in good shape with that. After that we're going to go to triggers, and then we're going to go to create a new one. We're going to make it a daily. So in here we can actually pick, like, let's run this at 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon and run it daily. So every day at 12:30 it'll just take a snapshot of the system. Then the next thing here is we have to go to actions and hit new, and in here we have to type in wmic right here, and then add arguments are going to be the shadow copy call create volume equals C:\\. This command here then can be taken, and really it's just this command plus this second part, and really you can run it anytime you want, and this actually creates the snapshot for the previous version. So we're literally just putting it in here, we're hitting OK, and then at this point we are good to go. We can actually say that under settings, we could say that these needs to be run on demand, run the task as soon as possible if it's missed, and if it fails, restart every, we'll say, every 10 minutes up to 3 times for 30 minutes total, and then stop if it runs longer. Then we'll say 1 hour. It really shouldn't run that long. We can put 2 just to be sure, and then that's about it. So you got to be very careful with all this. If you don't feel comfortable creating a task like this, it could cause some damage if you're creating it incorrectly. So I would recommend that you be very careful with it. In here we're going to have to type in our password to authenticate, and then we are all set. And so at this point we are good to go, and this will tell you automatically here that the next time it will run is going to be today at 12:30 in the afternoon, and it's in good shape. So be aware of that, how that works. And the nice thing is then you'll have more and more of these restore points every time you run that command or run that task runs on its own. It will always do that for you and create that previous version, which you can tell here the one we just did is right here. So one more major thing that I wanted to add was that you need to make sure that your machine is backed up regularly. We don't want to rely on the ability to actually restore files using any of these options. The goal would be to never have to do that. So in that thought process, you should have a good backup in place. So easy backups for people to use at home, or even some businesses are going to be listed here. Dropbox is one of them that's really nice. You could actually synchronize parts of your machine, if not all of it, to Dropbox, or a lot of it at least. You can synchronize desktop, my documents, downloads, stuff like that, pictures. to it, and then you can also store any of your work in there and just work out of the Dropbox folder. Syncs up to all your computers, so you can have access to all your stuff in one location, but across all your devices. Same thing goes even for OneDrive. OneDrive does a lot of synchronization solutions similar to Dropbox, and they both actually offer backup solutions for business too, so you can share files between people and work on them, collaborate, and they each have pluses and minuses and differences, but they are very similar and alike. Those are really easy to get and purchase and set up depending on how much storage you need. On top of that, then there's a bunch of more complicated solutions out there, but they could be argued to be much better, and I would suggest you look into them. One provider would be Veeam. They focus a lot on great server backups, but you could back up your own machine with that as well. Same thing with Acronis. They have a lot of good solutions, and then ArcServe for StorageCraft products are decent. They're changing a little bit, but either way, these are all good solutions to look into and at least have the discussion and make sure that you have your system backed up. That way you do not have to rely on these other solutions. That should be about it for the video. Hopefully you guys like it. Please leave a comment down below if this helped you restore some data, and please don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and click on the notification bell so that you'll be alerted for any future tips, tricks, and tutorials just like this one. And thanks.